Welcome to the Campground Catalyst Podcast, the show dedicated to fueling success in outdoor hospitality. Whether you're an outdoor adventurer, a campground owner, or looking to build your legacy in outdoor hospitality, you're right where you need to be. We're here to guide you through the fascinating world of campground management, unique real estate strategies, and the gratifying opportunities created by outdoor hospitality. Our mission is to inspire and equip you with the knowledge and insights you need to build a successful business and create a legacy worth leaving. The Campground Catalyst Podcast is proudly sponsored by Beyonder Camp, your trusted outdoor hospitality experts. Subscribe now, join our active online community, and let's ignite our passions and potential together.
Welcome back to Campground Catalyst. I'm your co-host, Robert Earl. I'm joined by Adam, Don, Justin. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Doing great.
Excellent. It's Friday here. Looking forward to the nice weekend coming up.
Fantastic. Yep. Yeah, we're recording this on a Friday because all week we've been talking about and actually acting upon staffing up our parks for the upcoming season. So this is a topic that we want to share some information on about tackling staffing challenges, particularly in outdoor hospitality. I know the entire economy has been focused on two aspects. I think that unemployment is very, very low. That it's very difficult to find good talent. And then the other aspect of it may be a little bit of generational. I'm going to show a little gray in my beard as to saying, that younger generation just doesn't want to work. I don't know if they've been inspired the right way or have the right type of inspiration. So today we're going to talk about some of our experiences, maybe some good examples that we've had, maybe a couple horror stories of what we've run into, and going through those areas. So, gentlemen, what do you think is the biggest challenge that we're facing or that the outdoor hospitality industry faces when it comes to staffing?
Well, I think I could speak for the industry just from the people I've met in our space that finding good help at an affordable price is a big challenge. I can say just relating it to our own very first campground acquisition back in 2021, the campground when we took over, they actually had people who worked there at the minimum wage at the time, which was $7.25 an hour. And of course, the same summer we bought that campground, Amazon moved into town and they were paying people starting $16 an hour with benefits. So the labor pool all of a sudden got very complex, very expensive, and of course very complicated to navigate getting the right people in. And so I think that's probably something a lot of owners can relate to.
Yeah. Finding people that care.
I'd say that's not just our industry. That's just everywhere right now. This last couple of years, people in big push of getting paid more, which of course in the end just drives up price of products anyway. So in the end they're back to where they were starting, but people have their mindset, I want to get paid more, and that can be a challenge, especially in something like this where you're dealing with people. It's not just somebody sitting and whittling a widget or whatever. They're actually interacting with people and dealing with personalities that can sometimes maybe get confrontational. I'd say, and I base this even with myself, with my past experience. 20 some years ago when I was a manager of a rent to own store, I was taught from my manager previous to that is that, you're not managing people, you're managing egos, right? So people that there have different thoughts on different things of what their time is worth or what they do is worth what, and not everybody has the same personality. You got to deal with all that. So it can definitely be a challenge to know how to deal with everybody in a different way, but be fair for the whole.
Yeah, I was saying people that care. It's really hard to find people that can take pride in their product, right? Their product being the property. And it doesn't matter necessarily how much you pay for what you get. So you got to be careful on who you're hiring. We do background checks on people, for example, but we just heard from a person the other day that says, I was a maintenance guy and I can't believe you asked me to cut the lawn. Like, how did you become above and beyond some of the duties of the property. And so it becomes hard to find people that really are going to pay attention to what matters most about the property. And it goes from all the way from the bottom all the way to the top, the general manager at the property. And obviously the general manager needs to be a good leader. Like you're saying, Don, you're managing egos, so are they, so everyone beneath them. But working with the people to pay attention to the property as if it were a business. And Robert, I know you can elaborate probably on that way more.
Well, we're in the campground industry, and I think we get lumped into the hospitality industry. So when I say hospitality, I'm thinking of the hotel or the motel or the inn from that aspect of it. Where Don, they are behind a desk, and they have a duty of check them in, pass them along, check them in, pass them along. The campground dynamics add a completely different aspect to it, especially when you're trying to create a family-friendly environment, or you're really creating an environment. You want a particular culture to occur. So some of the challenges I see from that is not having defined roles, because an individual does have to be able to do multiple roles and do multiple items of it. The other aspect of it is what is the care level and the standard that you want to set out. I know one of the books that we've had as a book club ourselves from the executive group is Be Our Guest, looking at how Disney tries to approach this from the time that you first arrive to the parking lot all the way through. We call this our full hookup process. But what is it that you want to set as a tone, and what are the standards that you're going to live with and put up with from that standpoint? So I think one portion of it is what is that care? We've rewritten, and we're in the process of still rewriting every one of our job ads because frankly, Justin, you and I talked about it one time, our job ads did not sound fun. And here we're getting to be outdoors. We get to interact with individuals. We get to be in great settings, great environments. And our job sounded like the teacher from Peanuts, wah, 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 wah. And it wasn't fun and exciting as to what you get to do. And I think you guys have run into that, and it's been an evolution since you bought your first park.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, and the biggest challenge, of course, that I talk with most campground owners about is finding the people to work there. So that's, I think, probably a good point to start with, is how do you actually get the people in the door for the interview to talk to you? There are a lot of job boards online. You can put jobs on there. A lot of people who apply that haven't even read the job description. And that's something that's a challenge. I still say we use those job boards. I'm not saying don't use those, but really get strategic about how you do those, because there are people who can one-click apply, and they can go down a list of jobs and click, and they don't even know who they're sending their resume to, or they even have automated bots now that are applying for jobs. We've known somebody who was applying for thousands of jobs a day just without even any interaction. They didn't even know what they were applying for until they got an interview request. So, if we really want to find the right people for our properties, we have to have the right mechanisms in place to filter out the noise. A recent job we put up got almost 400 applicants. How do you screen 400 resumes when you still have more popping in every single day? If you're fortunate enough to get that, that's a good problem to have. It means that you got a big pool to pick from, but you have to get the noise out. And I'll offer one tip I found for that right away, which is if you're using a job board, put questions in that they have to answer, or I shouldn't say that they have to answer, but that they would need to answer to pass the test for you. And the trick that I found for that too is make that question not required if you get the option. So that if they skip over that question and that answer is blank, it's an automatic reject. That really expedites the funnel process. But just my 2 cents on that. What do you think, Robert?
I look at it from a top down and a inside out. Now, what do I mean by that? The top is your manager that you have at the particular park. They're going to set the tone. They're going to be the one that, for lack of a better term, enforces your standards that you have at the park. They're going to be the ones that are giving that day in, day out care, a level that we're looking for, that culture that you want to have. And then when I talk about inside out, you may have workers that are already camping with you. if you have monthly seasonals, those are folks that care about the camp that are there. That may be one pool that you're able to look at. The next portion is the folks that are in the surrounding area. I will say that I'll put an asterisk on that one, that we're always looking at a care level that tends to be a little bit less. They're looking at it as a job, just over broke. And they're looking at it as a job and not actually as something that they're caring about and the experience that they want to have. Doesn't mean that there aren't good workers that live within the 10-mile, 20-mile radius of the park. The next aspect of it, of going out, is the work camper environment. And I think we'll spend some time on work campers and that aspect. But folks that are already in an RV, they understand the lifestyle, they understand what it's like to have to pull into a campground, to have to hook up. They know what it's like to live. They know how important the restrooms are, in case their facilities aren't working in their RV, or just to be able to go. And they take that pride and that care a little bit further. I know some of the parks that you guys have been involved with when you first got them, the work campers were the salt of the earth and really the backbone of the property. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. I remember our first property, there was a couple there I wish we were able to attract back again. They were gems. But Robert, I guess, just for the listener that might not have experience, what is a work camper?
So in the work camper aspect of it, they are going to be working for the season. In most cases, there will be some sort of trade-off from the standpoint of them getting a reduced or a free site for their particular for their RV. In that case, you might, depending upon what part of the country you're in, that could be ranging from $600 a month up to $1,500, $2,000 a month. So there's a value to that for the camping couple or individual that's there, because if they weren't working with you, they would have to stroke a check or run their credit card to pay for that particular site. In exchange for that, they're going to work at or slightly below what the market level is for the price that is there. We do have an aspect of it where we try to do it at Beyonder, is obviously we're going to be above what the minimum wage is in all of the calculations. And then the other aspect of it, and I'll put a warning to folks that are in the lifestyle, is that when you're looking at work camper ads, not all work camper ads are alike. Some of them ask you to volunteer, some in exchange for your site. Some of them ask you to do a trade-off or be a 1099. Well, now you get into the aspects of, Justin, if I asked you as a 1099 and I didn't talk to you anything about insurance or workers' comp or whatever, but I want you to go operate this gas-powered weed eater, and when you're done with that, jump on the zero-turn mower. Are you going to do that?
No, I might get hurt, right? What happens if I get hurt?
And then electric, I want you to also, when you're done with that, go rewire the pedestal over at Site 33, and then cut down this branch of the tree. These are aspects that are things that need to be done on the campgrounds, that a lot of ma and pa type of owners run into those types of situations where they don't have the proper insurance coverage. So, but that's the overview of the work camper structure. They work for a season. They get a bonus in some cases. They do it Beyonder Camp if they've been there for that period of time, and then they move on and they spent this summer in one location or this season in one location, and then they get to move on, and that lives and fits into their lifestyle.
Yeah, Robert, I want to jump in real quick on the work camper thing, because just, Ed Beyonder, you have taken on the work camper model and really built it out to what it is. I will say Justin and I were personally averse to the work camper model for a long time for the pitfalls. So you gave a warning to work campers. I'm going to give a warning to campground owners. It is a model that you can do, but there are many potential pitfalls. Robert kind of highlighted one already, which is workman's comp. If you have somebody working on site and they are not working for wages, if they're working either below minimum wage or for no wages at all, that person is a liability to you because your workman's comp will not cover them. If Pa's out there running the zero turn and falls off and gets his leg run over by the lawnmower, you're responsible for it. If he fries himself rewiring the pedestal at Site 33, you're responsible for it. So the workman's comp is one of the biggest issues to think about in that too. The other one you got to consider is labor laws. If you're paying somebody at below minimum wage in that area, you're technically it's a labor law issue, and that could really come back to you. And a lot of states nowadays are very protective of employees, including misclassified employees. So Robert mentioned the 1099. Well, the test for 1099 is very simple. The 1099 has to be able to choose their own hours, has to be able to do other work, and generally has their own tools. If you have them using your mower, they have to come in at a time you told them to, and you can't do any other work while they're on your clock. They're not a 1099, and you might be responsible for the withholdings that were missed. So these amongst a couple other reasons are reasons that Beyonder avoided work campers for a long time. Fortunately, Robert took the time and badgered us enough to actually get this in front of our lawyers and build out a model that is sustainable and actually helps us save a lot on our labor costs. So, Robert, I want to just tip my hat to you on that as our work camper expert.
Well, and it there's two aspects to that also. Don't think just because you're in the office that you can't be a 1099. You're using the company's reservation system, their computer. You're using their tools from that aspect of it. The second part of it, and Justin, this goes back to what you were talking about, is care. Because they're actually living there, there's a level of care that comes along with that. And there's a book that I've been reading recently called The Power of Moments. There's a not the nicest hotel, although they always get top rated. The book talks about in Los Angeles area where they have a red phone next to the pool. And if you go over and you pick up the red phone, then you get delivered a popsicle. It's a popsicle hotline. Now, what type of memory is that going to make for someone that is staying there we got to come up with our popsicle hotline at Beyonder. That'll be a meeting that we'll end up having.
Don't tell my kids.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're picking up. But that culture and environment that you want to also have with these individuals, I think the best mix that we found so far is you have the local individuals. They're there. They're grateful for a job. You bring the outside individuals who are part of the lifestyle. You get that blend. You get them working together on activities for your guest, and you really have one more plug for a book is Outrageous Hospitality. These are the types of things that you really want to focus on and look at as a campground owner, because you're competing with the Margaritavilles of the world as far as a campground where people could potentially spend their dollars and that experience that they want to have. But I think there's something more about being next to the lake or being in the campground and the campfire going and the organic culture that occurs. But the mix of staff can really help you with that.
Yeah. And, Justin kind of hinted to it earlier. I'm going to say, to campground owners out there, be scrutinous of who you hire. If you are looking at the local pools and maybe you're trying to get some work campers in, we often hire out of need and necessity, and that desperation causes us to really compromise on some things in our hires. And I'll tell you this from experience, the cost of that bad hire is going to haunt you a lot longer than if you just took the time to hire the right person in the first place. I mean, at this point now, we've hired managers from across multiple state lines and moved people across the country to get the right managers in. Getting the local staff can be a challenge. You might have a very small town that's servicing your area, and it may be difficult to get people in the door, but take the time. And like Justin said early on, to do the background checks, do them and actually read them, and then have a standard set for how you look at them to keep yourself out of trouble. Check with your legal first. Make sure you're not going to get in trouble for discriminating on it. But we've had a couple who came through we are family campgrounds, and we've had people who, committed horrible acts against kids who've applied for jobs with us, and thank God we are doing background checks and we caught those things before they ever had a chance to step foot on our property.
And a bit of extension from the work camper model is using the people that live there already. And we've had some very good success with some of our seasonals, and they're the people that care generally. They really care about the property. We've had a general manager step in from at the property and say, look, I can help you guys out to take over the situation. And she's done a great job. And the seasonal as well, they take pride in helping their fellow guests there. They really care about the property. They care about helping everyone else, and they take pride in becoming those employees, again, back to the 1099 versus employee, is them being scheduled on time, making sure they're at the desk or whatever their station, quote unquote station is, and they're on time, and we require that, right? That's the benefit of an employee, is that you can require that. And I guess turning into maybe some slight horror stories here. One of the big problems we've had with the hiring process has previously been titles, and sometimes titles go to people's head. When you say assistant property manager or maintenance supervisor, and we've talked to our staff about this because it became a reality in the fact that when you have all these bosses running around, too many chiefs and not enough Indians, then nothing gets done.
I don't think we can say that anymore.
Oh, political. Sorry. But
can we share just enough? I don't know. What do you call them? Beat cops or something. I don't know. Yeah.
So just we are a team here, and that's one of the things that Robert, you touched on, is part of like the Be Our Guest model is everyone is responsible for the property. It's not we're not saying well, you go do it and you go do it and finally the last guy that's maybe a 15-year-old that's on a summer job with us or something's taking care of the thing that the front desk staff should have been doing, or whatever the case may be. So it becomes difficult. So when we treat all the staff as a team, making sure we have the right culture and environment for everyone to take responsibility, it not only is more productive, but it's a lot more fun for everyone to see the results.
Yeah, we got ourselves in the trouble actually on our very first property we bought when we set up. We set up too many layers of management. I think we ended up with a GM and an assistant manager, and then, like you mentioned, a maintenance supervisor and housekeeping supervisor and front desk supervisor, and oh my gosh, all the supervisors. First off, it's not sustainable for payroll, and second, you have a whole bunch of people who think they're above doing the work that their subordinates are doing, and you get people who sit in the office. So yeah, we've stripped almost all titles away with the exception of the GM on the property, and even they have the expectation that they are doing all the jobs. I think in our portfolio, we've got our GMs are doing housekeeping at times. They're cleaning bathrooms as needed. There's no job that anybody in the company is above. And that even goes up to us. I mean, when we're on site, Robert and I are out walking around, picking up trash and filling our pockets with trash. We're not leaving it out for somebody else to pick up. And if you demonstrate that, you build that culture across the company, everybody will understand that everybody is responsible for the success of the company.
That's right. Robert, you asked me, would I cut down those branches and get on the mower or whatever? You said, yes, I would, right? Because like Adam's saying, everyone needs to take care of these properties. And when we're on site, we do. We walk around not only making lists, and we've had a saying goes, being the dentist, right? Finding the cavities of the property. And, we're doing that, but we're also taking direct action to make sure that the park is operating better every time we set foot on the property.
Most definitely, and I'm not 1099ing you, so we do have the proper coverage and have everything when we go from site to site. We at Beyonder don't have the experience with it, but the organizations that we belong to, Campground Owners Association, OHI, some of our fellow members there have also reached out and started to work in the J1 field as well. Now, these are very much seasonal parks. This is very much a type of setup where if you can think of, dare I say, Dirty Dancing, I'm dating myself, where they actually have a dormitory or they have places for the individuals to live, and they've really structured things the right way because they're in full responsibility for these individuals while they're there. Another thing, just when I'm on that legal aspect and throwing out the alphabet soup, is the I-9 requirements that have stepped up in a number of states with the political climate, etc., making sure that individuals are able to go through the I-9 for yourself as well with the park and workman's comp and those types of things. That also in many cases proves that they have a valid driver's license, because yes, a golf cart can be a liability as well for them operating that, even in the housekeeping arena, and they drive that off in a ditch or hit somebody's RV. or run into the cabin, there's a liability that's involved with that, and we have to check all of the different layers of it. So it's the technical side, but it's also that cultural side that you want to have, culture of your park that you want to have, and make sure that you're in compliance on both sides.
Yeah, I also want to add in to the previous comments about the work campers, especially if you have a seasonal campground, right? It may be a challenge to get your seasonal employees to come back each year, because guess what? The off season, they still need income. They'll probably go get a job someplace else, and they may not be able to come back next year. And you got to go find new people each and every time. And therefore, having those work campers could be a good solution for that as well, to at least cover part of that need, to not be just left each year with nobody there and have to hire a whole new staff each and every year.
Yeah, you bring in some, fresh perspectives and some fresh attitudes, which is sometimes welcome, when you're dealing with the people who live in the town and work there and have been there for a long period of time. So, all good points. One thing I just want to mention on more like the compliance side of things, once we get the staff in the door, is, a lot of us, who are getting into campground ownership have come out of other careers, fields. Again, a lot of people retired. They don't want the stuffy corporate environment. They want the fun environment. But you got to remember, you're employing people. You got to treat this professionally. You got to make sure you got a good set of policies in place, that you're hiring people the right way. Do stuff that's going to keep you out of a potential, litigation issue or out of a deposition. That's worse than having a policy manual in place to follow. So, fortunately, if you're with a good insurance broker, oftentimes they'll be able to provide you with a template to at least get you started, something to at least protect you on the fronts, that people often get sued in employment law. And then, obviously just get some guidance and expertise if you need help understanding, what you can and can't do in your hiring practices. So, from where I sit, that's some of the most important stuff to consider.
Very clear on what days off they have. When you're dealing with work camper couples, when I came into a park as a manager, the previous schedule had been set up and you had couples that didn't have the same day off. And then also when they were in particular environments, they're out in an area where it's close to a national park. Give them the days off and give them consecutive days off, because they're also campers who happen to work, and that allows them to enjoy your particular park, but they can also go and have their vacation time as well. So definitely is something, as a bit of a recap here. Set your criteria that you're looking for. Use the different aspects of it. There's a lot of Facebook groups for individuals that are looking for the seasonal work or work camper type of sites. We have our own job board that we set up that we direct people to. We do treat it as an employee aspect, that this isn't just something that they're going to do when they feel like it. When they make that commitment, they come on board. Background, check them, and encourage them to do the same thing about you. And then set a culture and environment that is really guest centric. That's really important, because at the end of the day, it's that interaction that they're going to have with the guest, even if they're just strictly a maintenance person. When something happens at the park, the guests are going to turn to them and look for that. So hopefully we've given you some tips on this. This is going to be an ongoing discussion within our Memory Maker section. We'd love for you to follow along if you haven't already subscribed. If you stumbled across our episode, welcome. We have a Patreon community where we answer specific questions from our guest there in the community, and then also in episodes. So you can find that at campgroundcatalyst.com. And until next time, make it a great day.
All right, guys. Great time. Great talking to you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Campground Catalyst Podcast, where we take you behind the scenes in the fun and gratifying world of outdoor hospitality. We hope you were inspired by today's show and better equipped to take the next steps in your journey. Remember, you can continue the conversation and connect with fellow enthusiasts by visiting our website and joining the Campground Catalyst community on Patreon at campgroundcatalyst.com. There, Patreon members get exclusive access to special listener perks, they get their opportunity to engage with the host, and they get their questions answered on one of our future upcoming shows. The Campground Catalyst Podcast is proudly sponsored by Beyonder Camp, your trusted partner in fueling your success in outdoor hospitality. Until next time, keep both your campfires and your passions burning.